Hey everyone, welcome back to this episode of Blitzkrieg. This is actually part 2 of the Eldar episode. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, check the link in the description for the episode that's on Fiaura the Tank Girl's channel. And please subscribe to her as well, because her stuff is absolutely amazing. So we'll be moving on to the Eldar Scorpion Super Heavy Tank. Now, the Eldar Scorpion tank is armed with a pair of massive pulsars on a traversing turret, which are a direct threat to Imperial Titans and can slice a Lehman Russ battle tank in half with a single shot. It has an estimated top speed of 280 kilometers an hour, has one driver and one gunner, weighs in at 70 tons. The armor is only 12 to 15 millimeters again, which for something this big you'd think you'd have something a little thicker, let's be brutally honest. Now, its main defense, aside from its speed and agility, comes from a Titan-grade hollow field, which actually refracts the Scorpion's image in the visible spectrum and blinds it from scanners and other tracking equipment attempting to lock onto it. It also has secondary armament coming in the form of bright lances, missile launchers, scatter lasers, or star cannons, and can even take upgraded star engines or vectored engines.
So you still only made it 10 to 15 millimeters thick.
For something that's a super heavy tank that can shoot a Lehman Russ in half, that can be taken out by a lucky shot with a bolt gun.
I'm going to give you credit that shooting a Lehman Russ in half would be impressive if the Lehman Russ wasn't crap. That much said, shoot a Space Marine Predator in half through the sloped armor, I'll be impressed. Again, hollow fields are defeated by rain. Basically, if the vehicle gets wet, the holographic image is distorted and doesn't come out where it will do its job properly.
At least it has a tracking jammer, right, to stop it from being locked on by targeted missiles or anything like that.
True. I guess I should explain this. So, holographic fields project light. If light passes through water, water acts as a prism, which refracts the light in every direction. That's why water destroys holographic images. All it takes is a bit of rainwater, and the hologram is wasted. The ECM capability for a tank is something new and revolutionary, something being experimented with by the Polish, oddly enough, with the development of the PL-01 stealth tank, which not only incorporates all of the aspects of stealth technology that we have for stealth fighters, but also attempts to incorporate radar for the purposes of being able to detect enemy vehicles literally miles away to be able to shoot at them via radar-guided shot. If the Eldar have implemented this with that massive gun, I approve. However, 10 to 15 millimeters of armor, again, is not even going to stop a bolter. Even if we assume it's the strongest bone known to us today, it's still going to fracture and fragment and even break every time it gets shot, no matter what caliber weapon you shoot it with. That's how bone works. And bone needs time to knit and heal. This is literally just going... I could see a unit of tactical marines just firing their bolters and emptying their clips into it. And as soon as the shields are done, it's just going to start breaking up. And the armor's just going to start fragmenting everywhere. Though... 70 tons moving at 60 kph is kind of impressive. That's about as fast and heavy as a Leopard 2. Well, I guess it's not that impressive now.
But bear in mind the Scorpion is actually a hell of a lot... is it Scorpion? Yes, it is. It's a hell of a lot bigger.
True.
I mean, it's about 18.5 meters long.
However, I'm going to point out
meters.
that 280 kph will not achieve flight for 70 tons. Period. You don't have the thrust, you don't have the lift, you most certainly don't have the up force from the velocity you're going to pull the vehicle up. And with the air intakes on top, you're actually applying downforce. So you're inhibiting flight with the air intakes on top of the areas that would normally be used to achieve lift. If this thing can fly, it has some other method of flight besides engine power. And 280 kph in the sky is abysmally slow. Let's put it that way. ME-109s in World War II would achieve 280 kph in a diving attack. That is, for modern standards, the Imperial Guard have jets. The Space Marines have jets. The Tau have some of the most advanced aircraft we've seen.
The Orcs have jets.
The Orcs have jets. This thing is slow.
Dinosaurs.
This thing is straight up slow when it comes. If like all the other Eldar vehicles, it's supposed to fly. You're talking mono-winged prop plane speeds. And on top of that, the turret is obviously going to rotate a lot slower because of the heavier armament and the much larger size of the turret than, say, the fire prison tank. It's not going to be terribly effective versus other aircraft. I could see, maybe, going one-on-one with the Manta, but then we looked at the Manta's speed, and it goes, 1,000 kph. It breaks sound. It breaks the speed of sound.
It can break the atmosphere barrier. It can go into space.
Yeah. So not only can it break the atmosphere barrier and go into space, it's faster than this super heavy tank and like 6 times as big.
And about 6 times as heavy, at least, as well.
I'm sorry, if a Manta's ramming something on the ground, I think it deserved to die. Let's just put it that way. I don't see this thing. I kind of see it like all the a bigger, more flawed version of all the other Eldar smaller tanks. Its armor sloping is defeated by all of the air intake vents on the front of the vehicle. Its armor is completely defeated by the fact it's made of wraith bone, which bone fragments, fractures, and shatters. And its firing chambers are completely exposed to incoming fire. You could not have put more fail into a vehicle if you tried.
The Eldar aren't doing very well. I'm actually generally surprised how, actually, from a physics and engineering standpoint, the Eldar vehicles are just so crap.
Okay, so for there's a couple things. We put air intakes on the back of our vehicles because you know why? Air intakes can't have much armor. Because you need to be able to suck in air. We make our viewports as small as possible to avoid them getting shot. These are literally person-sized viewports. And we put anything that is sensitive, like cannon breaches, inside of the vehicle. Even when we have an automated loading system, the breach is still completely covered with armor. Because you don't want that hit. This is everything opposite of what engineering says is a good idea. I don't know how else to say it.
It's broken you, hasn't it?
Dear Eldar, did you think about this before you did it, or did you just do it and think that it was a good idea?
They did it because it was pretty.
Oh, so pretty. Oh, so pretty. Oh, so pretty and witty and gay.
Well, there's nothing witty about these designs, is there? Let's be honest.
Not a damn thing. Moving on to the Revenant Titan.
Yes, which is the smallest Eldar Titan. And surprisingly, as far as Titans go, these things are extremely agile. I mean, for one thing, they can actually jump. They actually are equipped with jump jets and gravitic motors that can actually... Well, it can do leaps and gentle floating sweeps across the battlefield. It can leap harsh terrain and then unleash its firepower against enemy lines, and then use its speed to retreat to safety before the enemy can react. And in addition to their speed and agility, they're also well armed. They're generally armed with a pair of pulsars, but some are instead armed with sonic lances. And they can have a secondary armament which consists of a shoulder-mounted missile launcher loaded with plasma warheads for defense against infantry. And again, as opposed to having heavy armor, it's equipped with a hollow field to basically confuse scanners of all types. It's only crewed by a single person, which is known as the steersman, whose mind actually melds with all the spirits contained within the Titan's Wraithbone core. Now, Revenant Titans are actually they're deployed in pairs, and each pilot has to be a twin because they're of a psychic link between them. Which makes things interesting, to say the least.
Okay. First, Eldar armor design I approve of. This literally is designed in every way, shape, and form like German plated knights in armor of ye olde days, which was extremely effective. You can see the layering to maintain agility on the front of its chest plate. The shoulder pauldrons are massive and can actually drop down and cover the firing chambers of the weaponry. The cockpit, while it does look pretty, only has two very, very small eyes that I see as potential points that you could actually hurt it. The legs have additional covering around the joint areas. It even has hip guards. And Eldar, why did you give this thing a codpiece? I really have to wonder. And then I go, oh right, because the actuators are right behind that. Yeah. Dear Eldar, nice mech design. It's short, it's compact, it's agile, it's quick, it's actually well sloped for armor and designed like armor of ye olde knights that actually was very effective even against early bullets.
It appears looks like the Eldar have actually done something right.
This is a very solid design for a walker. The air intakes the air intakes for the engine at least are mounted on the side. And therefore the actual open section of the air intakes are a little harder to hit. The air intakes for the jump jets are mounted on top. I don't really agree with that. I would kind of put them somewhere else, but I can't have everything apparently. I have no idea what the antenna / phallic symbol coming out of the head is for. That seems like a wasted aesthetic design. But I'll give credit where credit's due. Every single joint, every single actuator, all the firing chambers, the ammunition, everything is completely covered with some form of extra plating that slopes over it. Nice job! Even the back is surprisingly well designed. It literally looks like a knight in full plate armor walking around.
It's nice to know that the Eldar can do something right for a change.
Well, we can't design armored vehicles. We can design walkers. Let's build more of these.
So let's move on to the next walker. We're going to go on to the Phantom Titan, which is the largest of the Eldar Titans. And again, compared to other Titans of its size, it is extremely agile. Now, the cockpit height is around 25 meters above the ground. And the primary weapon arm mounts the Eldar's largest and deadliest weapons, which include twin Phantom Titan pulsars, distortion cannons, or a special power glaive for melee combat. Secondary weapons mounted in the shoulders include phantom missile launchers and a pulse laser or a Titan grade star cannon. Again, like other Eldar vehicles, it's protected by a hollow field.
Hi,
Now,
this is okay. The aesthetic design I don't really like because I don't like the Eldar's aesthetic design to begin with. But other than that, every joint is covered by an extra armor plate. This is literally taking the Revenant Titan's design and just making it into a bigger form. Everything is completely covered up, or in the case of the main weapon, which is, you know, on the outside of the arm, it's actually placed in such a position that it's as far away from the crew compartment as possible. So if it gets hit and blows up, it doesn't kill the pilot. The air intakes on this one are actually located on the side and underneath, which, unless an opponent is standing under you, is extremely difficult to hit. And the air intakes for the jump jets are, while they're on top of the shoulders, are made as small as possible. And I even noticed that there's like a gun around it, kind of half covering it.
Yeah.
This is a solid design for a mech. The only weak point is at the crotch area where the two legs meet. I can't believe they put a cod piece on this thing. The cod piece doesn't actually cover the actuators there, but considering the agility, I'm assuming that the hips actually have a natural sway like a human being's, and therefore are constantly moving in and out, and that would make the actuators very difficult to hit. I don't know how much I would rely on a hollow field again, because rain equals dead hollow field, or even like heavy water in the air or dense gas would interrupt the hollow field enough to make it almost useless. But considering that it's relatively agile and quick, I'm guessing that it would make the Imperial Titan look, well, antiquated as far as speed and agility goes. But as far as firepower goes, I kind of wish they'd stuck some more guns on it.
At least give it some kind of tertiary weapon as well, rather than just primary and secondary.
And I see an optimal point right there at the waist where you could potentially mount like a twin-linked fire prism cannon shot or some twin-linked weapons right there at the torso that only fire the direction that the torso's pointed. But that would be fine, because you would literally just run around and occasionally shoot them as you're looking at them while your arm is pointed elsewhere.
Yeah.
And more shoulder-mounted weapons here would not hurt it. I'm kind of going with the orc philosophy of this really needs more DACA.
You can never go wrong with more DACA.
And this certainly could stand to have a little more DACA.
So it looks like the Eldar are 2 for 2 on the Titan front at least. In fact, with that combined with the War Walker I mentioned last in part 1, it seems like the Eldar strength really is in walkers, not in tanks.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to build more walkers. Stop building tanks, Eldar. Stop doing it. You're not doing it right. Go build walkers. There you go. But then we get into the next one, which is kind of ridiculous.
Yes, we're moving away from Craft World Eldar now. We're actually going to the Eldar Exodites with the Eldar Knights. Now, Eldar Knights, they come in 3 varieties. You have the Fire Gale Knight, which is a bipedal mech with looks like to have only a single weapon. You got the Towering Destroyer, which is a variant on the Fire Gale, but it has 4 weapon arms as opposed to just the one of the Fire Gale. And then you have the Bright Stallion, which is actually a quadrupedal mech.
So remember how we talked about quads being a better platform for larger mechs? Looks like the Eldar took the hint. The very small one,
The Fire Gale.
is simple and basic It's a simple and basic mech. There's nothing complicated about it. It is actually actually be an excellent replacement for the Warwalker because you have on one arm you kind of have a melee weapon or a fist to hit things with. On the other arm you have a gun, and the pilot is completely enclosed. This actually kind of reminds me of a... I hate to do this. This kind of reminds me of a...
Gundam?
Of one of the pods from Robotech/Macross. Whichever one you want to call it. It reminds me of one of those. And
yes, I see it now, yes.
They're pretty efficient. However, the two-legged one, you put your air intake vent on the front right below the main sight area where everyone can see it. Who came up with that plan? Can we shoot them, please? Also, there's a tube extending from that area to one of the weapons that's completely exposed on the front of the armor. I'm assuming it's full of coolant. Why would you put your coolant in that area and also inhibit the movement of the arm because of your coolant tube? Lastly, what is the point of the codpiece that stretches halfway down to your knees and doesn't actually cover anything? That armor would be better used as hip guards to cover the actuators.
Maybe he's just that well hung. We don't know. Gives new meaning to the term Wraithbone. Sorry, I shouldn't be making dick jokes.
No, that's hilarious! He came in with a Wraith Boner! God.
Just don't touch upon a Slaneshi variant.
Well, at least Slanesh doesn't have any work to do if Slanesh actually gets a hold of one of these. It's already taken care of. Just take off the crotch guard.
As George Takei would say, oh my.
The sword arm is very poorly designed for actual sword combat. It looks more like it's there just to hack something than actually fight in melee. Which is very strange to me, because aren't the Eldar supposed to be all prissy and agile and fencer-like? And this comes up with, like, I have a machete!
Well, in fairness, the Exodites are seem to be more primitive Eldar. They're... If Warhammer Fantasy actually took place in Warhammer 40,000, the Eldar Exodites would essentially just be elves. They would just, they'd be going around going, let's just chop them down with our swords and kill them. Yeah. What about the finesse? Fuck the finesse. Just kill the damn thing. It's only an orc. You can't be finesse with an orc. You have to hack it to pieces.
Now, the legs and the leg armor are actually pretty solid, though. They have massive wide base for standing, which means that in an actual melee fight with vehicles of this size, they would be by far the most solid standing and could probably deliver some very nasty blows as well as block pretty efficiently. And every single actuator except for, again, the hips, which you could take the parts from the codpiece and move to guard the hips, are completely covered. Not to mention the part that's probably going to get shot the most, the shins, are stupidly thick. However, again, your projectile weapons seem very, very poorly placed, and have all of their parts exposed and linked back to what I assume is the cockpit in a significant way.
Yeah.
Could you take the other Eldar design and move those weapons to like the wrist of that open fist? That would be really nice.
Maybe it's the only way they can get armor that was thicker than 15 millimeters.
Point taken. I think the codpiece is thicker than 15 millimeters.
That's what he tells with the Lady Titans.
It's got to make all those other Titans jealous and insecure, right?
Well, the Gargans are pretty well done. They've got a massive cannon between their legs, haven't they? So, and that's not to mention what the Tyranids have got under between their legs. But anyway, let's move off the subject of Titanic dick and move on to the Dark Eldar, because we haven't touched upon them yet. That's because the Dark Eldar actually have fuck all in the way of vehicles. So we're going to move on to one of the mainstays of the Dark Eldar, which is the Dark Eldar Raider, which is the main transport. It's fast, but pathetically armoured. They are extremely vulnerable to enemy infantry, even those who are not designed as tank hunters. Now, it's usually armed with a Dark Lance, but it can take special upgrades such as scythes, torture ramps, screaming jets, slave snares, scaling nets, etc.
So, who remembers the good old days of pirating? This is designed like a hovering galleon. And Spanish galleons were known to be terrible in everything that was not boarding. They were slow to turn, slow to maneuver, had absolutely god-awful ports for cannons, but the two castles, one on each end, were designed so that basically you were storming a castle if you tried to board it. However, this is a vehicle transport in modern combat, not a Spanish galleon. This is basically a suicide vehicle. I see a ramming plow on the front of it. What are you going to ram and hope that it doesn't kill you in the process?
A small bush. And even then they'll probably wreck the vehicle. It's so damn fragile. I mean, a light breeze could probably buckle this thing, let's be honest.
I'm looking at a picture with Dark Eldar hanging off of it, and their hand wraps around the metal that is supposed to act as its armor with most of their fingers without any issue. If a Dark Eldar hand is the size of my hand, and I can wrap my hand around that like that, that is only 5 or 6 millimeters thick. There's no protection. Absolutely none. The engines on the bottom are completely exposed to enemy fire. A proximity mine would be this thing's worst nightmare. An anti-infantry proximity mine would actually probably do significant damage to it.
A small frag grenade would be enough to cripple the damn thing.
Sadly. I wish the Dark Eldar had some good vehicles. They have potential.
To be honest as well, just being hit by a flamer would probably just melt the damn thing.
Well, a flamer wouldn't necessarily melt the vehicle, but the crew inside would be pretty screwed.
Yeah. Because let's be honest, if you're transporting troops, you don't want to have them exposed, to, pyro-based weaponry. Because that's one of the main things that infantry do not like. You do not like being subject to a massive storm of fire. Regardless of what species you are not going to like fire.
Unless you're made of it.
Yeah, unless you're the Firehawks or the Flame Falcons. But no.
Or an avatar of Khorne.
Okay.
But yeah. No. This is a terribly bad idea.
You know what's even worse? They also have a variant of it which turns it into a quote-unquote gunship known as the Ravager. The Ravager has the same chassis, again, like most Eldar vehicles, and it's been converted from transport to a heavy support vehicle. Now, it supposedly has fortified front and side armour and is equipped with 3 heavy weapons, usually Dark Lances or Disintegrator Cannons. Now, in fairness, again, they are extremely fast, like the Ravager. But considering it's based off the Ravager, I have to doubt the viability of such a vehicle to be used as a heavy support vehicle.
So even if they're extremely fast, that means they're extremely inaccurate, because firing on the move is painful. Even with gyroscopically stabilized weapons, the faster you go, the more you miss. On top of this, I have to ask, what's the point of the sail on top?
Yar har fiddle-dee-dee, being a pirate is out of me. Yes, we know, you're pirates.
The ram on the front is also completely pointless.
I'd like to see him try and ram an orc vehicle. I really would. See who would come up on top. Or just ramming an orc.
Open-topped heavy weapons platform. This sounds like a Hellcat. Wait, Hellcats were defensive weapons. Why are you charging with a Hellcat? Better yet, why don't you put a ram on a Hellcat? It only has 10 millimeters of armor.
Or better yet, why don't Dark Eldar actually have a tank?
You would think, being raiders, they would have a tank.
I mean, granted, not a super heavy tank, like if they're just raiders, but you'd think they have some kind of light tank. I mean, let's be honest, you'd think they'd have something equivalent to an Eldar Falcon.
Or just something with just enough firepower to break a gate down so you can get in.
Yeah. Or even starting to act as nothing, something akin to like a Space Marine Razorback, have the combination of troop transport and heavy weaponry. That's not as tough as a piece of scrumpled up toilet paper.
Now, I will give some credit. The armor design is pretty solid. It's sloped. It's concaved. It's made to maximize what little armor is actually there. There's some credit there. Even the gun shields are sloped. Again, maximize what little armor's there. But when a flamethrower will kill your heavy weapons platform, you may want to reconsider your design choices. Not to mention the fact I'm just going to assume this, but in the event of foul weather, the Dark Eldar don't raid anything, do they?
I have no idea. I mean, I can just imagine a bunch of Dark Eldar going, what planet should we raid today? Let's raid this one. What's the weather like? Oh, it's nice and sunny today. Oh, it's a nice day for a raid.
I can just imagine them going, it's pouring rain and there's a thunderstorm. All our vehicles are open-topped, right? Yeah. Shit. Next world.
What their armor's for. That's what the Kabbalite's armor's for. It's like, well, we're encased in armor, so yeah, we can deal with the rain.
You say you're encased in armor, and the one I'm looking at here, the pilot's wearing a hat. Not a helmet, a hat.
A hat. Oh, God.
Like, literally, a chic.
Right.
A towel wrap.
So, again, it all stems down. The entire Eldar as a species, regardless of their Craftworld, Exodite, Corsair, Harlequin, or Dark Eldar, so far it seems to be like all your vehicles are shit except for your walkers.
You should probably stick to your walkers.
Yeah. And we have one more vehicle left on the list. Actually,
Venom.
It's the Venom, yes. It's a very fast, small transport vehicle, which is used by the Dark Eldar and also used by the Harlequins. So it's the only Harlequin vehicle as well, it seems. It's preferred by the Dark Eldar over other transports for its small size and nimbleness. But the thing is as well, it's just a giant glorified jet bike, let's be honest. I mean, yeah, it's going to have the speed and agility of an Eldar jet bike, which are probably the fastest, flagbetter and cavalry units you can get in 40k at this point in time. But at the same point, what's the point of using such a thing as a transport vehicle, especially if you can only transport about 3 or 4 people?
You know, this reminds me of a
What's
technical. A pickup truck with a machine gun on the back. It's effective. It's surprisingly effective.
Yeah, but I think the orcs did this better though, didn't they?
The orcs did a better job!
Now, when you're being out-teched by the orcs, I think it's time to reevaluate your life choices.
The crew is literally hanging on for dear life. The air vents are on the front and completely exposed. The pilot's cockpit is completely exposed and obviously not reinforced. The armor sloping actually slopes to divert incoming shells into the air intakes.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
The way the armor is sloped, it is sloped back and downward, which slopes it into the side air intakes on the wings of the Raider. Or on the Venom's wing area. The side engines have the incoming rounds deflected into their air intake.
Okay, so can someone please enlighten everyone as to what kind of narcotics the Eldar were taking before they burst Slanesh to think, you know, this would be a great idea. Yeah, give us some more cocaine. You know, it's like, I'm a Drupal Vex, now do cocaine!
I don't know! I don't honestly know.
Too much spaced cocaine.
And if it's made of wraithbone, I feel even more sorry for these people. I can literally just imagine a not even a squad, a fire team of 4 Space Marines.
Not even that.
Seeing this thing driving towards them and just opening fire with bolter rounds, and it explodes in a fireball of death and angry from the fuel getting ignited from bolter rounds hitting the air intake.
While they slowly turn around and put on a pair of sunglasses where it has deal with it come up on the view screen.
Yeah!
Cool guys don't look at explosions.
The pilot in this thing is basically dead. He's at the focal point of where the armor should be. At least on the Valkyns and the grav tanks, they put the pilot to the left or the right of the dead middle of the tank.
Oh dear. So, overall, out of all these Eldar vehicles we've talked about today, what vehicle that's not a walker was actually the most viable? Like, sorry, not the most viable, the least shit.
Wait, what vehicle is the least shit out of all of these and I can't pick a walker?
Yes. Because to be honest, I think the only one that sounds somewhat viable, really, out of all of them, would probably be the Wave Serpent, just because it has that energy shield that can be used offensively and defensively. It has a bit more, you know, versatility towards it.
If I had to pick one, I would go with the Wave Serpent. Like, if I had to ride in one of these things and didn't get absolutely had to ride in one, I would ride in a Wave Serpent because of that extra energy shield. All these other vehicles, I would look at and go, please don't put me in one of those. Please don't. Like, I will do anything. Don't put me in that. I would definitely pick the Wave Serpent out of all of them, and it's still terrible.
So there you have it, everyone. Turns out the Eldar, the most technologically advanced race in all of Warhammer 40,000,
have no clue what engineering is.
Except when it comes to bipedal walkers and quadrupedal walkers. But that's literally it. Walkers, the Eldar ones seem to be the best so far. But everything else is... It looks like it was designed by someone who has the intellect of a prawn sandwich.
I think that's an insult to sandwiches. You may want to go talk to Subway about that.
Ah, fuck Subway. I'm not endorsed by them, so I can say whatever the fuck I want about them.
God, this... This, I had to stop twice when I'm doing research on these things this week and go, okay. I literally went down to the local Warhammer 40k shop with tape measure and a sextant and a couple of other tools, and sat down with the actual models and measured angles and everything, and I went, oh my god, this is terrible. Why would you do this?
I would have loved to see some of the reactions you got from the staff.
I literally asked the staff, can I look at the angle of the armor on a Venom? And they went and they handed me a Venom, and they saw me take out a protractor and start doing some measurements, and I put paper over it so I wouldn't mess it up, and drew some angles and went, you guys do realize that this thing's armor actually deflects the rounds into the air intakes underneath it. And the staff member at the time looked at me and went, what are you, an engineer? I said, I used to be. I technically have several years of engineering experience, but that's beside the point. This is just...
You should have said, I'm Fiaura the tank girl, bitch.
I did explain to them what it was for.
Ah, fair enough.
Oh god, why? Why, Eldar? Why? You had such potential, and then you...
squandered it.
I guess pissed it away on fucking?
They were too busy murder raping a god into existence. So I think that concludes this episode of Blitzkrieg. So, ladies and gentlemen, in the comments section below, what race do you want to see us cover next? We've already done the Imperium, we've done the Orcs, and now we've done the Eldar, and we've also done the Tau. Who's next? Do you want the Adeptus Mechanicus? Do you want Chaos? Do you want the Necrons? Do you want the Squats? Do you want the Tyrannids? Please write in the comments section below. This has been Ramlace from 40k Theories.
And this has been Fiaura the Tank Girl.
And we'll see you all again next time.